Unit 10 The Touch. Pavitra and Mamata, who are neighbors, observed the Ganesha festival yesterday. Pavitra said to her 6-year-old daughter Kusuma, "Don't come near me and stay away from those kadabus. You can't eat them till they are offered to God." Mamta said to her 6-year-old daughter Suma, "Don't touch those kadabus, dear, but you can eat that banana that is over there." What did the girls say to each other that evening? A kind old woman, also a neighbor, heard them. She said a few words to each woman. What do you think she said to each woman? When I arrived, I found father lying on the string cot facing the wall. I had left my slippers outside the threshold, so my footsteps did not give away my presence. I went right up to the cot and asked, "Are you asleep?" "Who is it?" he asked as he turned on his side. "It's I replied. "Come, sit here," he said, continuing to lie stretched out. When he heard me pulling the steel chair and preparing to sit down, he asked, "Why do you want to sit so far away?" "Come and sit close to me," he said, up to make space for me, showing the place on the cot next to him. I sat on the edge of the cot. Groping father patted me on my back, and then he felt the place next to him on the cot and said, "Sit comfortably, Amma." I shifted a little, making myself comfortable. He groped in the air in front of him, gripped my hand, held it in both of his hands, and said, "I have been looking forward to your visit. Is everyone all right?" "Yes," I said softly. He didn't say anything else and silently stroked my hand. Once, as a teenager, we had to go somewhere in a rickshaw. Though the rickshaw was spacious, I sat huddled at the far end. "Sit properly, Amma. You will fall off," father had said. I had hesitated and moved just an inch closer to him. From the time I learnt my first letters of the alphabet, father had kept me at a distance in the name of discipline, and because of Muddy, his orthodox way of life, I never had the courage to touch him. I had always felt that he was in a state of ritual purity. I was used to slipping into my cocoon, so how could I ever think of sitting close to him in the rickshaw, our bodies touching? When children return from school, if you embrace them lovingly and speak to them in a friendly way, they open up and chirp like happy birds. Instead, if they are greeted harshly at the threshold with, "How much did you score in maths?" or "How you brought your report card?" they die of fright. I died many such deaths over some 20 years. I still haven't got over the diffidence they created. Father is over 80 now, past the age of recovering his sight, even if his eyes were to be operated upon, though he is otherwise healthy. His poor eyesight has made him weak. He has spent the last 2 years in bed. My husband and I had come to town on hearing that my mother-in-law was not well. To spend some time with her, I managed to visit my parents once in a while, as they live in the same town. On such visits, I used to spend about half an hour chatting with father. To sit close to father is to revive a faint memory of childhood, when he took my hand into his hand and stroked it with love. The longing I had felt as a child for such a touch flooded my inner being and tears welled up in my eyes. I choked. I couldn't speak. Would he understand that I had once longed for his loving touch? Perhaps all the love and affection that had flowed between us in letters evaporated at his sharp, intense look. Wherever we came face to face, even in early childhood, I used to avoid him to escape his piercing glances that had hurt like scorching sun rays. Now, though I knew that they had been extinguished, why was I still unable to free with him? The first time I visited him illness, I had noticed bugs on the cot. I had picked up a couple of them and silently crushed them under my foot. Later my husband noticed a bug on our bed and had been upset. I told him that it had probably crept into my clothes when I had sat on my father's bed. As I was leaving that day to visit my father, my husband cautioned me not to sit on my father's bed, but to pull a chair and sit a little away. As I pulled my chair away, father asked me to sit closer to him. How could I not? He was not happy until I was almost leaning against him and had his hands in mine. Father had longed for sons all his life but was now left with only his daughters. At the fag end of his life, he had lost his grown-up son, the perpetu- perpetuator of his name. Perhaps that is what destiny means. When my brother died, I had hesitated to face my father. Some unknown feeling of guilt had held me back. I had felt like taking him in my arms and reassuring him, saying, "Don't worry, I am here." But I hesitated even to touch him. That's how I had been raised. After I chatted with him for a while, he asked me to clip his nails. Asking mother to do it would be as useless as the marcher weeping on the shoulder of the drum. My brothers were not alive to do it, nor were his children around. Not that he couldn't ask my sister-in-law, but perhaps he wanted me to do something for him. I was elated and did the job carefully. Perhaps father was feeling depressed. He stroked my hand and said, "It would be so nice if you moved into his town. I could stay with you." I looked at him helplessly, a look he couldn't see. I couldn't reassure him with words either. Father didn't speak again and was silent as he stroked my hand. At that moment, my education, my job, and everything else appeared vain and superficial. I sat for a while before leaving. As I returned in a rickshaw, father's tender touch haunted me. Tears welled in my eyes and blurred my view of the road.